All right, folks, it's that day. It's Wednesday. On the air with us today, we're going to have Jeff Roberts with us, the founder of Jeff Roberts and Associates. As you know, Jeff's team consists of 7 seasoned advisors who share 125 years of financial planning with Ameriprise. Barron's Magazine has even placed them among the top 1,200 financial advising practices in the country, and that's happened 6 times. Jeff is a local guy who's doing big things. His team specializes in working with affluent clients to preserve and grow their wealth. They're the go-to team in town for customized recommendations concerning estate planning, retirement planning, and asset management. Big Jeff Roberts, how are you, buddy? Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas to you. This is the first day of winter, and more importantly, the shortest day of the year, which means from this day forward, we're going to get a little bit more sunshine.
I need it, brother. I don't know if you've heard me on the program, but I'm convinced that my gene pool comes from places that are warm.
I'm with you,
I do
100%.
not like the cold. What are we talking about today, brother?
Well, I had an experience with a client that got me thinking about a good topic for us. We talked last week some about gifting, and we're going to continue that just a smidge. One of my clients was talking about some year-end strategies in gifting, and he has some grandchildren, and he likes to make contributions to their education plans on their behalf. And there's some unique opportunities that are available for people in Alabama specifically, and it's worth us talking about. So we're going to discuss 529 plans today.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to give you an overview. Now, everybody knows that I don't come on the show and make recommendations specifically. I try and talk in general categories and make this educational. So by no means today am I standing here and saying that everybody needs to rush out and get a 529 plan to educate their kids, because it may or may not be appropriate for each individual, but this is just one strategy and something to consider. But as a basis to build our conversation on, a 529 is a vehicle that you can contribute money to. And there is no tax savings by putting money into the plan. But if you put it into the plan, and let's assume that the money grows in the 529 plan, if the money is used and taken out down the road for college education expenses, specifically qualified college education expenses, tuition fees, room, board, that sort of thing, then the taxes that you would normally pay on the growth of that account disappear. Meaning not only is it tax deferred while it's inside, it's tax free when the money comes out and is applied for qualified tuition fees, room and board, college education expenses. So it's a cool strategy for people to accumulate money on a tax favored basis over time.
Now, is that tax favored on the state level and the federal level, or just?
Man, you
federal?
you just teed me up perfectly. You led me right into the great point. Okay, so 529 plans are typically offered out of a state. Like, for example, Alabama has one, Tennessee has one, South Carolina has one, Massachusetts has one. Many states have, I believe most states have a 529 and offer it. If you purchase a 529 from the state where you're a resident, some states allow that plan not just to be federal tax-free, but also state tax-free. So if you live in a state where there is a state tax, like Alabama, and you purchase the Alabama 529 plan, not only is it federal tax-free, it is state tax-free in Alabama. So it is a unique component to the Alabama plan specifically that allows both federal and state tax-free. Does that answer your question?
Oh, it does. It does. So what about if somebody, well, I'm probably getting in the weeds, but it just made me think, since the plans are set up by the state, I guess the federal government kind of commissioned them, hey, y'all can go do these things and not have to pay a federal tax on it. What if you moved here from Tennessee and you started one in Tennessee? Is that something they need to come and talk with you about?
Yeah, it is, and it may make sense to change. It may not. But to the point, if you're here in Tennessee now, and you're here in Alabama now, but you had one in Tennessee,
right?
Then there may be a benefit to bringing it to the plan in Alabama in order to avoid that extra state tax.
There you go.
Now, there's pros and cons to doing that, and that's something that we could work on an individual basis. But it very well may make sense to benefit from the state tax provision here in Alabama. Now, there's another couple things to consider on 529 plans. Now, let's think about it in this particular scenario that I was using with a client. The client is a grandfather. He has children, and then he has the grandchildren. And he's trying to help out his kids by contributing to his grandchildren's education plans. And they have a 529 set up. Now, what's unique about the Alabama plan is this. If he contributes $5,000 into his granddaughter's 529 plan, in Alabama, he is allowed to deduct that $5,000 contribution on his state tax return. So it can lower literally his Alabama state tax by that $5,000 contribution, or his taxable income, I should say.
So Alabama will let you put the money in. It's tax deductible, the money you put in.
The money you put in is tax deductible up to $5,000 per person that's deducting it. Let me give you an example.
Right.
So my client, he puts $5,000 in for one granddaughter. He gets to take that $5,000 off of his Alabama income to pay less in taxes. His wife could put $5,000 into the other granddaughter's 529 plan, and she too gets to take the $5,000 off their Alabama income. So as a couple, they're able to deduct $10,000 off of their Alabama income. As an individual, they could just do $5,000. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely it does. Now, why some of these things ever were dreamed up all these ways? But that's the politicians did that. You're helping us guide through the minefield, I guess.
Now, let's assume that in one case, let's assume that he has 4 grandchildren and he wants to contribute $5,000 to each one. Now, this is a potential strategy, and I always recommend when you're talking about tax or gifting and estate issues, you should consult your CPA or a estate planning lawyer, tax lawyer. But if he wanted to give 5 to 1, his granddaughter, his wife gives another 5, and they've kind of maxed out. But if they wanted to do another $10,000 that was going to be split between, say, 2 more grandkids, he could gift the $10,000 to his, say, son and daughter-in-law, his son, let them receive that gift, and then they can put it into respective 529s if they wanted to, and then take that off of their Alabama tax return. Does that make sense?
No, it does.
So they can do it at their own level, at the grandparents' level, gift dollars to the kid, let the kids make contributions as well. So there's some pretty unique estate planning strategies, tax reduction strategies, and college education saving strategies that can all wind up into one comprehensive plan.
Well, see, that's one of the things, Jeff, that when you come on this show that I have learned from you is that there are ways to do things that probably shouldn't have been so difficult, but the government did it, that I just don't think I would ever know. If I wasn't talking to someone like you, I wouldn't know that you could do the $5,000 from the grandparent, $5,000 from the grandmother, a gift to the children who put it in the grandchildren's accounts. I mean, those are strategies that are all proper, but without people like yourself, I would never have any idea. And people are always talking about how, well, the wealthy don't pay as much. Well, the wealthy many times don't pay as much because they have folks like you, and you're making yourself available to all of us to give us that kind of advice to help us get ahead.
And it's very much the goal. And when using certain tools, for example, like a 529, we're speaking on it today, even though it can sound great, it still may or may not be the right decision for everyone. The cool thing about 529s is that even though your child is here in Alabama, if they go to some school outside Alabama, who imagine that, but if they did, the tax benefits still stay the same. A lot of people are under the perception that in a 529 plan, my kid has to go to a school in Alabama for me to benefit from the 529 tax-free status, and that's not true. You could be in Alabama and your child could go to the University of Tennessee and you still get the same tax benefits if they went to Alabama or Auburn.
Heaven forbid that you do that, but
exactly. You don't want them going back home to Knoxville, where I'm from. But that's the basics. And again, lots of things to consider. And as always, we tell people, if you're taking these types of steps, get advice from somebody that can help. If we can help in any way, always look us up on jeffrobertsandassociates.com. We're happy to help.
That sounds great, Jeff. I appreciate you visiting with us, giving us more information that just helps regular old folks try to get ahead in life. That's what y'all do. And Merry Christmas to you, Jeff Roberts.
Merry Christmas to you, Scott. See you later.
Thanks, buddy. See you. That's Jeff Roberts, Jeff Roberts and Associates. As usual, very informative. I hope y'all are beginning to see that there are advantages to knowing stuff. Wouldn't you say, Steve?
Absolutely. Knowledge is power, man.
Knowledge is power. And that's what a lot of people miss. We make our decisions financially based on what Uncle Joe told us. And there are a lot of things you can do, especially in retirement, planning for your kids' education, that it just pays to talk to somebody like Jeff Roberts. Let's take a break.
This is Yellowhammer Radio.